Are you familiar with the fact that there was recently a settlement with this little news company called Fox News?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was for about $780 something million. Was it because they were lying about the elections?
Yes, it was for a.
Okay, there we go. I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna keep going. There also was this article, because I don't want us to base anything on Georgia at all. Please, Jesus, not Georgia. Okay, because Georgia purged 87,000.
Will the gentlewoman yield? I think Georgia matters.
I will not yield. I am reclaiming my time. All right, so there were 87,000 people that were purged that were legitimate voters. So no, we don't want to copy off of Georgia. Also, another GOP voter admits he committed fraud. Another one in Pennsylvania, man who admits he voted for Trump with his dead mom's name because he listened to too much propaganda.
What happens when receipts meet rhetoric in Congress? You get Congress Erupts as Jasmine Crockett shuts down Marjorie Taylor Greene's Misinformation lit on air. In today's breakdown, we're diving into the viral exchange that had the internet buzzing, where Rep. Jasmine Crockett didn't just clap back, she dropped a full constitutional beatdown. From exposing GOP voter fraud hypocrisy to shredding conspiracy theories about ballot boxes and dead voters, Crockett turned this hearing into a civics lesson Marjorie Taylor Greene clearly wasn't ready for. Buckle up, because this isn't just political theater, it's a masterclass in how to destroy misinformation with facts, history, and righteous fire.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentlelady from the state of Georgia, Ms. Greene, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to remind everyone that Georgia's votes matter, and everyone should care about each state in the United States of America and voter rights. And I would also like to remind everyone that in order to buy a gun, you have to have a valid ID. That's required, just like voters should have a valid ID. Talking about the state of Georgia in the 2020 election, my ex-husband showed up to vote for President Trump, myself, and other candidates that he wanted to support. And when he showed up to vote, he was told that he had already voted by absentee ballot. And he said, no, that's not true. I haven't voted by absentee ballot. As a matter of fact, I didn't even request an absentee ballot. And they said, well, Mr. Greene, it shows right here on the Secretary of State website that you've already voted by absentee ballot. And he said, well, that's not true. I haven't voted. I would like to vote here in person. That's what I'm doing. And so they made him sign a form surrendering a ballot that he never requested and never voted on so that he could vote in person. And he was deeply troubled by this. He was upset by it. But what bothered him even more is there was a whole line of voters there that day that were doing the same thing.
So let's talk about exposing GOP election misinformation, or as I like to call it, the moment Jasmine Crockett held up a mirror and the GOP didn't like what they saw. While Republicans keep screaming fraud like it's a national anthem, Crockett calmly pulled out receipts. First up, the $787 million settlement Fox News had to cough up because they couldn't stop spreading lies about Dominion voting machines. That wasn't just some tabloid drama. That was a courtroom certified you lied and got caught moment. And it doesn't stop there. Crockett didn't just point at media manipulation, she dug into actual voter fraud. The kind Republicans claim. Turns out a Trump supporter in Pennsylvania literally voted using his dead mom's name. Not exactly the widespread fraud they warned us about, unless you count their own base. Oh, and let's not forget Georgia, the holy grail of conservative voter suppression. Crockett put them on blast for purging 87,000 legit voters from the rolls. Not felons, not frauds, legitimate, eligible voters. Deleted. So when Republicans yell about voter fraud, Crockett's basically saying, you mean the fraud you're committing or the one you're projecting? This wasn't just a clapback. It was a full-on expose of GOP hypocrisy. While they posture as election purity police, Crockett reminds us that the real fraud might be hiding behind the badge of integrity they love to flash. Stick around, folks. This kind of truth-telling doesn't hit the floor of Congress every day.
We carried on, and he had to go through quite a lengthy legal process to find out what happened, and he still hasn't found out why someone was able to vote with an absentee ballot in his name. He also never found out what happened to that absentee ballot, if it was thrown out, and who they voted for. You see, there are problems in our elections, and it's important to remember. We saw many of them in the 2020 election. We saw suitcases pulled out from tables, suitcases of ballots. And then here we just saw in the news that a Postal Service releases final report. Contract driver Jesse Morgan vindicated because he had been trying to say that he hauled a trailer of ballots from New York to Pennsylvania in late October 2020. These things matter. And Democrats know they matter too, because in 2019, Democrat Senators Klobuchar, Warner, Reed, and Peters had all wrote a letter of how concerned they were because intelligence agents were saying that elections were in danger of being hacked by foreign nationals or foreign countries because election machines could be hacked. Now, I think that's problematic, and I think everyone can agree that we don't want foreign countries or foreigners meddling in our elections. And so my question would be, if this is such a deep concern, Ms. Weiser, Ms. Evans, Mr. Spies, Mr. Cuccinelli, one by one, could you say yes or no if you agree that we don't want foreign actors meddling in our elections? Ms. Weiser, we can start with you.
Let's get one thing straight. This wasn't just a personal anecdote. This was proof that something is deeply broken in our elections. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is here to say what the media want. From her perspective, the story about her ex-husband being told he already voted when he absolutely hadn't isn't just some family drama. It's a red flag. It's a symptom of a system where absentee ballots are vulnerable and legitimate voters are getting caught in a mess they didn't create. If it can happen to him, who else did it happen to? Greene's approach is simple. Connect the dots. She brings up the infamous ballot suitcases in Georgia, not as a conspiracy, but as a call for investigation. She references postal worker Jesse Morgan, who claims he hauled a trailer full of ballots across state lines, not to spread misinformation, but to ask why his story was ignored. And when she quotes Democrat senators who were worried about election security back in 2019, it's not cherry-picking, it's pointing out hypocrisy. If they were worried then, why are those concerns suddenly taboo now? To Greene, this isn't about left versus right. It's about asking why so many warning signs, from election machine vulnerability to unexplained absentee ballots, are being brushed aside. She sees herself as the one sounding the alarm when everyone else is too afraid or too compromised to speak up. From Greene's viewpoint, the system's cracks are showing, and stories like hers are evidence, not anecdotes. The real scandal, she'd argue, is that Democrats only care about election integrity when it suits their narrative.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So I hail from the great state of Texas, and what's interesting to me is we always want to talk about privileges and compare what is required for a privilege versus comparing what is required for a constitutionally protected right under our federal constitution. And it's interesting that in this chamber, we love to talk about the Second Amendment and we want to make sure that everyone has guns. And we only have one amendment in our Constitution that deals with guns, and it's the Second Amendment. And Professor Weiser, you were just about to say we have multiple provisions, so you were messing up my test a little bit. So I'm not going to let you answer the question. I'm going to go down here to these experts. Let's start and go the other way. Do we know how many amendments actually address voting in our Constitution?
Well, it depends how you count them, but you could say 3, 5th,
Okay.
14th, 15th,
Okay. Mr. Spees?
plus the DC amendments.
And maybe first.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay, Professor, go ahead and break it down.
I believe it's 6.
There we go. There we go. So we got the 14th, we got the 15th, 17th. Wait a minute, did I mess up? 19th, 24th, and 26th. There we go. All right, so we have 6 amendments.
23rd.
And 20.
And every time we dealt with an amendment dealing with voting, we were expanding upon access. Is that not correct?
That is correct. That is the history of this country expanding.
Okay. The history is to expand, but obviously there are some folk that want to rewrite history and make sure we go back in time. So let's also talk a little bit more about history for a couple of seconds. There was this little thing called the Voting Rights Act. Are you familiar with that?
From Jasmine Crockett's perspective, this isn't just about voting. It's about the soul of the country. When she steps into that chamber, she's not speaking off the cuff. She's channeling the weight of history. The Constitution doesn't shrink the vote. It expands it. 6 amendments. Count them. 14th, 15th, 17th, 19th, 24th, and 26th. Each one a step forward. Each one a reminder that access to the ballot box is something Americans have marched for, bled for, even died for. That's why Crockett brings up the Voting Rights Act, Bloody Sunday, and the women's suffrage marches. She's not just throwing out references, she's building a case. She's saying, look, every time this country took a step forward, it was because brave people stood up against systems that tried to shut them out. Now in 2025, those same systems are being rebranded as voter ID laws, registration purges, and subtle manipulations that disproportionately hurt people of color, young voters, and the poor. To Crockett, the fight for voting rights isn't over. It just evolved. The language is cleaner now, the tactics more polished. But the goal is the same, to decide who gets a voice and who doesn't. And when she sees Republican lawmakers pushing legislation that makes it harder to vote, she sees it as a betrayal of the very ideals this country is supposed to stand on. In her eyes, this isn't about party politics. It's about principle. It's about honoring the people who came before and making sure the door they kicked open doesn't get slammed shut again. Crockett's message is clear. If America is truly a democracy, then access to the vote should be sacred, protected, and expanded, not quietly chipped away under the guise of security. Thanks for tuning in and being part of the conversation. If you found this breakdown helpful or eye-opening, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to the channel for more real talk, sharp analysis, and unapologetic truth. Your support helps keep these deep dives coming. Stay informed, stay bold, and I'll catch you in the next one.